Hello, it's time for Advent of Code again, and we are tackling day 17 today. I think the video quality is not as good as it usually is. I don't have good Wi-Fi here, but let's hope this works. I have the font on pretty big. All right. So, reservoir research. You arrive in the year 18. Miles, hello, how are you? Hi, Milesy. Are you doing any of these code puzzles? If it weren't for the code you got in 1018, it would be very cold. The North Pole base hasn't even been constructed. Rather, it hasn't been constructed yet. The elves are making a little progress, but there's not a lot of liquid water in this climate, so you're getting very dehydrated. Maybe there's more underground. You scan a two-dimensional vertical slice of the ground nearby, vertical, okay, and discover that it's mostly sand with veins of clay. Sand and clay. The scan only provides data with a granularity of square meters, but it should be good enough to determine how much water is trapped there. In the scan, X represents the distance to the right and Y represents the distance down. There's also a spring of water near the surface as at X equals 500, Y equals 0. Okay, so there's a spring of 500 in the top row. Okay, the scan identifies which square meters are clay, your puzzle input. For example, suppose you scan the following veins of clay. Also there's X's or Y's. Rendering clay is sharp and sand is dot, and the water spring is plus, and with X increasing to the right and Y increasing downwards, this becomes... Okay. Spring of water will produce water forever. Water can move through sand, but is blocked by clay. Water always moves down when possible and spreads to the left and right otherwise. Okay, water forever can move through sand, blocked by clay. It always moves down when possible and left and right otherwise, filling space that has clay on both sides and falling out otherwise. For example, if 5 squares of water are created, they will flow downward until they reach the clay and settle there. Notifications. Water that has come to rest is shown as a tilde, while sand through which water has passed but which is now dry again is shown as pipe. Okay, so they go down and then they spread left and right. Oh, and then, okay, 2 squares of water can't occupy the same location. If another 5 squares of water are created, they will settle on the first 5, filling the clay reservoir. Okay, makes sense. I guess now it's complicated. Water pressure does not apply in this scenario. Oh, okay. If another 4 squares of water are created, they will stay on the right side of the barrier and no water will reach the left side. Water will reach the... Okay. At this point, the top reservoir overflows. While water can reach the tiles above the surface of the water, it cannot settle there, and so the next 5 squares of water settle like this. So it goes up, it goes to the left and right, it can't settle here, so it stays a pipe instead of a tilde, and then it overflows right here. Okay. Note especially that leftmost bar, the new squares of water can reach this tile but cannot stop there, so this is this one. Eventually, they all fall to the right and settle on the reservoir below. After 10 more squares of water, the bottom reservoir is also full. And I guess that will overflow now. Finally, while there is nowhere left in the water to settle, it can reach a few more tiles before overflowing beyond the bottom of the scanned data. Okay, how many tiles can be reached by the water? To prevent counting forever, ignore tiles with a y coordinate smaller than the smallest y and larger than the largest one. Any x coordinate is valid. Okay, so in the next example, counting the water at rest. How many tiles can the water reach? All right. Let's take the sample data and see if we can scan it. It looks something like this. So scanning the input with fs promises, await fs read, and then I split at the line endings using this from the old puzzle. And now here I have a bunch of lines, and they look like this. For let line of inputs. For let line of inputs. So for every line, I want to see if it matches x equals y equals. I guess I can do let a first part second part is equal to line that split at the empty spaces, and then I want to sort that alphabetically so that I get x and y. What's the problem here? Let x, y for, oh, well, still a mistake. I'm like, why is my editor complaining? Okay, so I split them into x and y's. Now, if x dot match, if the x just matches double digits followed by a comma, and I want to grab these digits. So if the x was the first one, well, x is a single number then. So then I can say x part, y part, if the x part matches a single number, then I want let x is equal to, oh, and I messed this up. So I want to match letters followed by a comma. Do I need to escape the parentheses? What is wrong here? Oh, that was what's wrong. Okay, so I want to match a multiple digits. Okay. Let match is equal to this. And then if we have a match, then let x is equal to that number. And let, for the y parts, I want to do let y min, y max is equal to, we want to match let's just call this m, and then we want to match for the d's with the dot dot. Okay, so we want multiple d's here and multiple d's there. Oh, how did I get it? This way. Okay, so we're matching those. We get the min and the max, and from that we get a match, and then we want min and max. Okay, so we have the x's, and I think I need to keep track. What do we need to keep track of? The mins and the max, probably. So I don't know the size of my grid yet. I need to escape the dots. Thank you. Hi, Nick. Thanks. Yeah, that's a really good kind of typo. Okay, so if the first part is the... Oh, so this one here was if it matches this. So I really wondered if it's x equals comma, whereas here it is y equals comma, in which case y is the first number, and the first number is actually the second position and not the match itself. And then we have x min and x max, which is what comes between the dots. And just to be sure, we can say y equals x equals. Okay, so I have the x's and the y's. That's really helpful to show me this typo. I would have been very worried why my regex doesn't work. Okay, so I'm reading the inputs, and how do I want to store them? I could put them in a board. I don't know yet how big the board is, so I could just keep the min and max. Can I keep them in a sparse board? No, that just seems really confusing. So let minimum x, let... Oh, that's not gonna work. So this is just the left and the right number. So we get a minimum x, which is a number that max safe integer, and a maximum x number min safe integer. Let min y is equal to number max, and let max y is number the smallest one. So here we have left and right. Here we have left and right. I kind of want to add them to my board, but I think I want to get the dimensions of this board first, just to be on the safe side. So here I'm doing if x is bigger than min x, then min x is equal to x. Else if x is less than min x, then min x is equal to x. And of course, so it's bigger, it should be max x. Will line 26 work? If m is not true, line 26. Oh no, this will not work. Thank you. So otherwise, we know that we are matching y is equal to this, and then that should work. Okay, now it's 31. You're saying this will not work? I'm thinking if the line, if it is the x equals comma match. Wait, do those jump around? Yeah, so the shorter one is always on the left. Oh yeah, I'm like 20-40 seconds behind. Sorry about that. I think this would work now. And so if the left number is less than the minimum y, then min y is equal to left. And if, thanks Nick, if the right number is greater than the maximum of y, then we get a new right number, formatting. And then we do this all over again. Let's pray to the typo gods. If y is bigger than max y, this should be min y. And then if left is less than min x, This should be max x. All right, so we have the min and the maximum. Okay, we have minimum and maximum. So now that we have min and max, so after this for loop, we can work with min and max. Let the height is max y minus min y, and then we need to add 1, because if the max and minimum, if they were both 0, then the distance would be 0, but we'd have 1 row, we'd have the 0th row. And width is equal to min y minus min x plus 1. And I believe if we go back to the picture, we should be careful about stuff overflowing even further on the left here. So I'm just going to add 1 for the x left and right. Overflow left and right. So we have a height and we have a width. And now we need an offset. Oh, and I also have to leave in 10 minutes. All right, let's see how far we can get. So the spring was at 500. So we're going from min to maximum. Let the x offset is equal to, oh, there's another typo here, min x. And actually it should be max x minus the minimum x. That's how far we go from left to right. And the other one is the height. And the x offset, let y offset. And I always want to start with x just because. So the x offset is minimum of x and the y offset is minimum of y. But then we added something to this x here, so it should be -1. Let board is an array of, and in my array I will have, yeah, I think I want the rows. So this one needs height many that fill, and now we are mapping every entry to an empty array. And then every array is this long, so for let I is equal to 0, I is less than the height, I goes up. For let j is 0, j is less than the width, j goes up, and now we want board of I j. Yeah, this is filled with arrays and they're all the sand for now. I think now we have to go through these inputs again and add all the clay to it. Let's print the board just to make sure it has the right dimension. So for let I is equal 0, I is less than height, I goes bigger, console.log board of I that join node day 17. Okay, match is not defined in line 23. Oh yeah, because I renamed stuff. 23 doesn't have match in it, does it? Match is not defined. Oh, I need to run match, of course, on, what was I thinking here? This is not right. Why did not anybody say anything? So M is where the first part matches X equals, in which case left and right would be the y part that match. Okay, now if the first part does not equal that, then the y part equals this, and this here is the x part that match equals this. Okay. X is not defined in line 42. If left and right, because m is the y part, so if y is less than min y. And this looks like an OK board. And so now I want to add all the clay to this board. So I'm just gonna copy and paste a lot of code. Who cares? So I filled the board, and before I'm printing the board, I want to add all the sand, the clay to it. So if we have an M, left and right, and then I don't need to do this. Now I need to do for I is equal to left, I is less than or equal to right, I plus plus, and then board of I x. Oh, so now board is ix, x, it's yx instead of xy. Okay, that's good to remember. So that's clay. And then the same down here. I'm not trying to find the min and max. I'm going from left to right. And in this case, yi. So close. Cannot set property 498 of undefined in line 75. I'm setting. Oh, I forgot about my offsets. To do something with offsets. So I set all those. And now here I need to bring in these offsets. So I have an x number and a y number. So y minus y offset, x minus x offset. And the same here, y minus y offset, I minus x offset. And the offsets were the minimums. Yes, that should work. Okay, yep. All right, so we got the first step done. Well, not the first step. We're able to read the board. Read the input for day 17. And now we need to have the water flow, but I have to run. I'll be back probably later today, and I'll try to actually have the water flow and then see if it's flowing. Thanks for joining, and thanks so much for fixing the typos. Bye Miles, bye everybody.